Good afternoon, everybody, to the Board of Directors meeting this Tuesday, September 25th, 2018. I think that we have quorum. Do you take a roll first? Is that what we normally do? Please, if you could. Madam Secretary, take the roll.
Commissioner Edmondson. Ms. Fano. Ms. Gutierrez. Mr. Meyer.
Present.
Ms. Weinberg. Treasurer Martinez.
Present by phone.
Here.
Secretary Wolf. Vice Chair Board.
Here.
Chair Jimenez. We have a quorum.
Welcome, everybody. Welcome to this board meeting. First thing we'd like to do is do the Pledge of Allegiance. And Board Member Martinez, could you lead us in that? Of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay. Called order. Okay, I'd like to get an approval of the agenda. Does everybody have their agenda? Do we have a motion?
Move.
Moved and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Agenda's been approved. Mr. Attorney?
Yes, declaration of voting conflicts. Do any members of this board have to report any conflicts with any item on the agenda? Seeing none, we move forward.
Okay, thank you. We now have an opportunity for citizens' comments on anything that's on the agenda. Citizens are limited to 3 minutes, and you cannot delegate your time to somebody else. Is anybody in the audience wishes to come forward for their comments? Please do so at this time.
Mr. Chair, I got no request via email either.
Okay, going once, going twice. Okay, we're done. Next is my comments, and I'll be brief. First of all, thank you to the board members for electing me to this position. I don't know if I want to thank you or not thank you, but at this point I do want to thank you for electing me to this position. And we have the MDX is going to be moving forward, and we have some very interesting projects and something that's going to come before us before the Board of County Commissioners on Thursday. A very important project here in MDX, and I look forward to serving in the next year as your chair and moving MDX forward for the betterment of this community. I also want to do something else, and we've had a lot of rhetoric, and we've spoken about the state legislature and some of the things and some of the laws that they've passed that we may not be in agreement with. I think that I would like, as the chair, that we do so in a respectful manner, and that we open up lines of communications with the legislature, so that those things that we may not be in agreement with, maybe we can change them at the legislative level. The executive director and I have already spoken to some members of the legislature that they're sometimes unaware that some of the things that they do, the impacts that they have here, and if they include us in their legislative package or when they're drafting their legislation, that maybe a better product can come out as far as we're concerned. But also, they do have their job to do, and we have our job to do, and I think we need to do that in a very civil manner. It doesn't mean that we can't disagree, but let's keep that disagreement in a very professional manner, and that's the way that I like to see that in the future. If anybody has a comment on that, please, I'll be happy to take it right now. Okay, moving ahead. FDOT I-395 State Road 836 presentation.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. I think Maria Perdomo's here. Maria. And she brought her team. They've got a presentation. Each board member has a copy of the presentation. Audience will be able to see it. I think it's uploaded. They're going to give us a brief overview of where the project is. Maria, if I'm not mistaken, you have been presenting to various entities around the county, correct? Thank you.
Thank you, Board. Thank you, Javier. We're starting presentations now. We have the TPO this coming Thursday, and towards the end we'll have slides of other presentations that we're going to be doing in the next few months. I'm the FDOT design PM, and with me is Jacqueline Segueda. She's the construction project manager for the department. Okay. Timeline. Currently, we've led the project back in 2016, and right now we've awarded the project to Archer Western and Demoya. This happened February of this year, and notice of proceed happened in July of this year. This project is a partnership between Florida Department of Transportation and this Miami-Dade Expressway Authority, MDX. The total cost of the construction project is $802 million. FDOT is contributing $616 million, and MDX is contributing $186 million. The contract time is 4 years. Those 4 years are just the contract time as it says underneath. That does not reflect holidays or weather delays. Project map. The project consists of 3 major projects. We have the State Road 836 improvements, which begins northwest of 17th Avenue and continue to the Midtown interchange. We have the I-95 pavement reconstruction, which begin northwest of 8th Street and continue to northwest 29th Street. And we also have the State Road, the I-395 that begins in the Midtown interchange and continues to the MacArthur Bridge. Today, I'm going to go over several enhancements, one being State Road 836, Midtown Interchange, I-395, some of the proposed features under the I-395, and also the I-95 enhancements. Currently, the existing condition along State Road 836 consists of 3 lanes each direction. With the new proposal, what we're going to be building is a double deck that is going to go in the middle of the existing facility. What that does is that it allows 2 through lanes that go continuous from west of 17th Avenue to the Midtown interchange and continues to the 395. So if there is any traffic jam on I-95 or if there is anything happening at the local roads, it will not affect this movement. And I'll show you a little bit more of how that looks. The bottom level, you also have 1 through lane, which is the inside lane, and then the outside lanes are going to be treated as CD roads.
Collector distributor roads.
Collector distributor, sorry. Thank you. So what it looks like, as you're west of 17th Avenue, the viaduct begins, and that's a great image of how it shows how it's going to be elevated. And it starts west of 17th. What you see in blue is the viaduct, which means those 4 lanes, 2 lanes each direction, and on the bottom you still have your 2 lanes. One of the benefits of this proposal is that it really did minimize the impacts to the Miami River and also to the historic Grove Park around the area. In addition to that, not only capacity and operation did it improve it, but also impacts to right-of-way and to the impacts to the courthouse, to the jury parking. An additional benefit to this is that now we're able to add an additional lane to that 1 ramp that goes from State Road 836 eastbound to I-95 northbound, which everybody has been stuck at some point. Well, that now becomes a 2-lane versus a 1-lane ramp. What that does, it causes obviously more traffic to be able to flow. So we're going to be adding an auxiliary lane on I-95 from the Midtown interchange to the northwest 29th Street to be able to capture all that traffic that's coming in from additional lane. And then, as I said, the double decking maintains separate through traffic to the local traffic through the interchange, which is a benefit. I-395 enhancements. So we're going to be completely reconstructing I-395. There's 11 new segmental bridges going to be proposed. It's going to improve the capacity and the safety and the operations of the whole facility. We're also going to be building a signature bridge. The signature bridge goes over northeast 2nd Avenue and spans to Biscayne Boulevard. The signature bridge. This is an image of what it's going to look like. The signature bridge is elevated about 330 feet and has spans 1,029. There's approximately 180 cables coming down as the arches go through. It's really going to change the skyline and what you drive through it, because you have all these cables coming down at different dimensions, and then at night, you have lights on the arches, and you also have lights on the cables, and that's programmable. So it's not only a blue, it could be any color that we see.
Are the cables functional, or are they just aesthetic?
No, the cables are functional. The whole structure is, the whole bridge is structural. Some of the enhancement under deck. Right now, what you have under 395 is what you see there on the left. You have very low vertical clearance, a lot of visual pollution. You have approximately 109 columns, 186 columns actually. And it's not somewhere where it's pleasing. You have the fencing, and it's really not anywhere that you want to really take your family and just, take a Sunday afternoon stroll. But with this project, and this proposal, because the viaduct comes in so high, as it's coming in and coming into the MacArthur over Northwest 3rd Avenue, you have that image that you have there to your right. It's approximately 60 feet in vertical clearance. The image underneath is 30 acres of green space. It's an opportunity for people now to gather and have activities. Some of the activities that we're proposing is along Northwest 3rd Avenue. You have a legacy wall. You have an interactive fountain. You have playgrounds. We have also a pedestrian bridge that connects and goes over the FEC Brightline Railroad. You also have the dog park and a fountain. And these are just some of the features. Some of these features are underneath the I-395 are what the department's doing is that we're meeting with local agencies to be able for them to obtain, to operate and maintain this area underneath. Right now, the contract, this is what we're proposing to build, but we are talking to the city of Miami and other local agencies that will be reaching out to see who wants to champion this opportunity to really change, and maintain and operate this area. At night, we also have a lot of lighting turning night into day. We have lighting along the structures. We have landscape lighting, pedestrian lighting. You have the Heritage Trail featured lighting. So it really would be turning night into day. Some of the pedestrian enhancements, just to go over a few, is we have the emphasized crosswalks throughout the project. As I mentioned, the pedestrian bridge over FEC. We also have additional crossings throughout the Heritage Trail, bike racks, more crossings, the pedestrian bridge, another image. And also we have an underpass that connects the Metro Mover, and it's a shortcut to be able to get to the north side of the corridor. In addition to that, we also have a bicycle lane that is going to be connected to the MacArthur that's going to be being able to get on and off from Biscayne Boulevard. And as I mentioned, the enhancement on I-95, we're adding an auxiliary lane just for this portion to be able to take in all the additional traffic that's coming in, and then we're doing the pavement rehabilitation that begins northwest of 8th Street and continues to northwest 29th Street. And then to go over the construction updates, Jacqueline is going to update you.
Good afternoon. To go over the construction, the project, as we mentioned before, is a design-build project. So right now the plans are under design. There's going to be some preliminary construction activities expected in October or November, but they're just exploratory geotechnical investigations. The major construction is going to be towards the end of February, beginning of March. And the construction will be done in phases to minimize the impacts to the public. We still don't have an approved construction schedule since it's all preliminary, but the contractor has given us the milestones, and they have committed in the way that they're going to deliver the project. We have 6 milestones for the total project. The first milestone is The operations, the improvement of the operations in I-95, like Maria had mentioned, that additional lane that the auxiliary lane that we're gonna extend on 95, and this is something that they are scheduled to finish before the Super Bowl in 2020. The milestone number 2 that they have committed is to open the second lane on the eastbound to northbound 95, which is the one that Maria was also mentioning, that is gonna be a double lane, that ramp. Then milestone number 3 is opening of the Signature Bridge on I-395, and I have another slide that has a picture of that phase later on. Then milestone number 4 is opening of the double deck on the section of 836. Milestone number 5 is the older part of the Signature Bridge. We call it the Signature Bridge, but it's actually 2 different structures. The westbound that's gonna be built first, and then the eastbound, and it's gonna look at the end as one bridge. And then the last milestone, which is the final phase of construction, is number 6, which is the area underneath the deck of the whole I-395. These are some pictures of these milestones, the I-95, the second lane from 836 to I-95 northbound, and this is the one that I had mentioned about the bridge. The first phase of the bridge, which is the westbound, is going to be constructed outside of the existing roadway right now, so it's not going to impact traffic or not as much while they're building this area. Then the double deck, there is another picture here of the double deck that Maria had mentioned before.
Jackie, can you go back a second?
the east-
So you're not going to impact traffic on 395 and for that matter, 836 when you're building that first bridge?
The first section of the bridge, this one, the westbound, is going to be outside of the existing, if you see that picture there, that's where the bridge is going to be built and the traffic is going
Art
to be
Center.
maintained.
Okay.
We're going to impact some of the local roads while we're doing that, building the foundations and the bridge, but not
Okay.
the 395 traffic.
Okay.
That's the other portion of the bridge. And then milestone number 6, like Maria had mentioned, is all the work that we're gonna do underneath the 395. Maintenance of traffic, like I had mentioned, we're gonna do the project in phases. Later on, we can come back to the board and present when we have more details of specific areas on the traffic control plans. These are the restrictions that we have for lane closures in the different areas. We also have a PIO on board with us in the construction trailers, and they're gonna be coordinating all the special events in the area, like the art center and the arena, all these events that are gonna be happening. There are restrictions also on the contract that the contractor cannot close lanes during these days where their special events are happening. The upcoming activities, what we expect within the next 6 months or so is the utility relocation, like I had mentioned before, surveying and geotechnical exploration, continue the development of the plans, and also the construction on I-95. There is going to be some widening on State Road 836 in preparation for the beginning of construction of the double deck, and also the foundations for the I-395 bridge. Another feature of the project is the traffic management system, and this is also a requirement for the contractor to implement, and we're gonna be using the cameras and the DMS signs existing and some other ones that they have to install, and this is gonna be to provide real travel time to the drivers. Also, it's gonna help to clear any incidents on the road while we're in construction, and also for people that know in advance to take different routes and not go through the traffic when construction is happening. The community outreach, we have a website for the project with all the information. I believe it's gonna be launched this week on Thursday, where people can go and get information and sign up to participate on meetings or get information on lane closures and calendars for the project. We have an outreach office in the Overtown area. The address is there on the screen, and this office has been there since we started the procurement of the process, and we intend to keep it throughout the duration of the project for any people that want to go in and ask for information on the project. We're also going to have stakeholder meetings, and those are going to happen in a monthly basis. The first one is scheduled for October 15th, and it's going to be here at the MDX facility. And like Maria had mentioned, we started all the presentations for different agencies. This week we have the TPO on the 27th, and there's a list of all the presentations that we have for the month of October and November. And that's it. Thank you. Any
Thank you.
questions? Maria and I are available to answer.
Are there any questions from the board members?
I have a question. Could you go to slide number 9? So there in the first point on the side on the right, no, you went to, there it is. You says you processed an additional 874 vehicles per hour in the peak. Could you quantify for us what the double decking does in terms of alleviating or expanding the capacity of the system also?
The double decking, and this figure is for the ramp only, okay? What the double
Right,
decking
right.
does, it does, I don't know the number by the back of my mind.
Okay.
But what it does separate all the traffic underneath I-95 and all of the ingress and egresses that are on the corridor throughout this process. So now, if you get on the viaduct, you're gonna be able to go to Miami Beach and not be affected by any of the traffic on I-95. And that includes if this ramp is backed up, that does not affect the viaduct, or it does not, the double deck, it does not affect movement eastbound and westbound.
I was just looking for a number. And then going back to slide number 9, on point number 3. Is it really accurate to say that it eliminates the possibility for backups on I-95 impacting SR 836? Eliminating it?
Well, if you allow me to go back to the slide, unless there is a backup that continues all the way to Northwest 17th Avenue, then yes. It does start at Northwest 17th Avenue and continues through Midtown, and there shouldn't be a backup on it. Thank you.
Yes.
Else?
Yes, I got a
Board member.
couple quick questions. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Let me tell you, I've looked at a few of these presentations as they've continued to be rolled out over the period of the last 12 months. It's pretty impressive what we're doing from 95 to downtown. I think, if I remember correctly, in one of the previous presentations, there were 4 or 5 zones that you all are focusing on in terms of enhancements and improvements outside of the actual structure of the bridge and the transit components. But one of the things I missed, and maybe I missed it because there is none, and so I'd ask the question and also ask it to the executive director, for our portion along the 836, outside of the double-decker, but everything that's on grade, are there any pedestrian or vehicular improvements that are going to be performed in that segment? So when you look at from 17th Avenue all the way to 95, on grade, are there any pedestrian or vehicular improvements that are going to be made for those individuals, or the health district as a great example?
No, there is nothing included in our project. It's very limited right-of-way because it's structure. Even the current 836 is on structure, so there's very limited. And I think one of the proposals, this proposal by the design-build team, actually encouraged the reduction of impacts to the right-of-way. So it reduced a lot of the right-of-way impacts, but there was nothing here for enhancements of pedestrian or at the local level. All of that is happening, if I'm not mistaken, east of the I-95 interchange.
But that is something that we evaluated
Yes.
early in the process?
Yes, we did.
Okay, great. Thank you. That was it.
Anybody else?
Mr. Chairman, just want to let you know that Our liaison on the project is Juan Toledo and his team, Claudio, and they've been going to all the meetings. They've participated in a lot of the criteria that's being set up that affects 836 and our customers.
Okay, I have some questions. The viaduct itself, if I take the viaduct, the only thing I can do is go to Miami Beach, or can I get off somewhere else?
You'll be able to go straight to Miami Beach, and there is an off-ramp that gets you off from I-95. That's the only, those are to southbound I-95.
Southbound I-95. Is there, if I don't take the viaduct, will I still be able to get to southbound I-95? But if I want to go to southbound I-95, I got to take the viaduct.
No. If you have the option whether you want to take the viaduct or if you want to stay at grade. We did not eliminate any of the existing movements.
Okay. And so I take the viaduct, I'm going past, do I come back down at the bridge level, the signature bridge level, or?
So as you come down, we have, we're about 63 feet northwest 3rd Avenue, and then you continue down to about 23 feet over FEC, and then we match the MacArthur over Biscayne. It's approximately 23 feet in elevation, vertical clearance.
So only
it
the
comes down.
only the cars that are going to Miami Beach are actually going to be on the signature bridge?
No,
Okay.
everybody's going to be on the signature bridge. And let me get to that slide. The exits to get off, oh, I passed it, I apologize. The exits to get off are at Northwest Miami Avenue. But if at one point here, where you see my cursor, everybody, including those in the viaduct and those that were on the lower level or coming in from I-95 will be driving through the signature bridge.
On the same bridge?
Yes.
On the bridge?
Yes.
And it's only one level?
Yes.
So once you get past this, then whatever exit is to the east of that, everybody can get. So is there any exit east of this?
There's, if you're in the purple area, there's no exits, only if you're going to get off on Miami Beach.
What, Miami?
On Miami Beach.
Miami Avenue?
Miami Beach.
Miami
So
Beach.
if you're on in the purple, it's the viaduct. It's not a double decker anymore at this point because we don't have 2 levels. But that traffic is going through to Miami Beach and they'll be on the signature bridge. If you are on the lower level of the double deck, then you'll be able to get off on North Miami Avenue, or you could continue and also go to Miami Beach.
Okay. How long is this going to take?
The contract time is 4 years, but we anticipate with weathers and holidays, maybe another 6 months to another year.
All right, you said that the northernmost bridge, because there's going to be 2 bridges, right? On the signature side, there's 2 separate bridges?
They're going to be constructed separately, and then at the end, they'll come together in the middle at the pylon, which is what you, let me see.
All right, so when you're constructing one bridge, the north side, you don't anticipate much of a problem with traffic because it's a different structure. Is that correct or not?
It is a separate structure, but then when it comes together, it'll be at the end.
What happens?
Construction-wise, I have to.
What happens when it all comes together? What kind of restrictions are you going to have? What kind of traffic are we going to be looking at for the next 4 years?
We're going to be closing lanes, but they're going to be closed at night. And there's going to be work done during the day, but for the during the day type of work, they cannot close lanes. The 3 existing lanes have to stay open. So lane closures will only happen at night.
And you said this is going to take 4 years to do this? From the beginning? 4 years?
The contract time is 4 years, but that does not include holidays and weather days. And that's the way the contract is set up. Every time it rains and the contractor cannot work for more than 50% of the day, he gets an additional day at the end of the contract.
So it's going to be 8 years?
It's normally 6 months to a year more for a 4-year.
So it's going to be 5 years. So why don't we tell people,
anticipate 5
it's
years.
5 years, okay? We figured 5 years with weather delay instead of saying 4 years, because in 4 years, they're going to come back and say, hey, you haven't opened up yet. So why don't you just go ahead and tell them 5 years? I would do that, okay? If you actually beat their expectations, it's better. If you promise something in 4 or say it's going to be in 4, and then it comes in 5, then you're delayed and you're over budget, all right?
Yeah, I agree. But with the way we're presenting it is because of the contract, the way that it was led. It was a 4 years.
Don't do that, all right? Say, we think it's going to take 5 years, all right? If weather the normal weather, we think it's going to take 5 years. The contract calls for 4, but we think it's going to take 5 because of weather and stuff like that, and holidays. So, okay, that's just my druthers. I'd rather tell the people exactly how long this is going to be. Okay? Any other questions? Any other comments? You're good? Okay, it's in your district.
As long as it stays the same as when it came through us, and so far I see it's remaining the same, no changes.
No changes.
Very good. You got 1 vote. Okay. Okay, thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Jackie.
Next up is the approval of the summary minutes for the board meeting of June 26, moved by Board Member Martinez. Do I have a second? Seconded by the Vice Chair. Any comments? Any changes? Okay, approval. All in favor, say aye. Aye. Okay, so approved. Executive Director's report.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, board members, and welcome back from an extended summer break, I guess. That doesn't mean that there hasn't been a lot going on. In fact, I've asked Director Toledo to put something on the slide on the screen while I speak to it. On August 13th, we opened up one of the elements of the 836 reconstruction, and this is the the diverging diamond interchange at 27th Avenue. We've been fortunate that one of our staff members has a drone, and we've been able to video traffic moving through there, and we've actually tweaked. And I do want to give a lot of thanks to the county's traffic signal staff who have worked with us. They've been out in the field, because what's happening is you've got to program 4 signals, 14th Street on the north, the 2 within the interchange at the DDI where the traffic crisscrosses, and then you've got Northwest 11th Street on the south, which is actually not a straight road, it's offset. So there's been challenges here, but it is working. You're seeing it. We're looking at it every day. We continue to monitor it. We have had many media inquiries, and we've done a Facebook Live interview on this. We've been able to explain it to the community and to the media. Mr.
And just for
Toledo.
reference, this video is from yesterday morning at 7:30 a.m.
Correct.
It's not 2 a.m., it's 7:30 a.m. Okay.
7:30 a.m. That was very powerful when we were describing this to the media. While they were having the presentation, the video was running for about 30 minutes at 6 p.m. So you're seeing it operate. So it was hard to argue that it wasn't operating because they were seeing it. But anyways, I wanted to bring everybody on board on that. Later this year, I believe towards November, we are going to be doing this same treatment at Northwest 57th Avenue. Northwest 57th Avenue, we believe, is going to be easier because the primary movement is on and off of the expressway and not the arterial itself. So I think it's going to be a lot easier than this particular one. I also want to commend drivers who have followed the signs. They're following the signs. There's been no incidents out here. So on September 6th, thank you, Juan. On September 6th, I went up to Tallahassee and I had to present to the Florida Transportation Commission. It was the annual performance report of all the authorities. As usual, I have to go first. MDX is picked first. Needless to say, there was a lot of discussion on the legislation. I explained what we were doing. I explained how it impacted our program and how we were moving forward, that we were not looking back. There was a lot of discussion, and then they honed in on our XT lanes, our express technology, express buses, and how an expressway authority was looking at partnering with transit to provide mobility solutions on an existing corridor. I know Jacksonville Transportation Authority is looking at solutions of that nature, and others around the state are going to try to emulate that. We've had many meetings, many meetings, preparing for the Thursday's meeting at the County Commission on the Kendall Parkway. The intent of the meetings is to clarify a lot of inaccuracies that have been out in the community. We have presented the facts. Later in the agenda, there's an interlocal agreement, and we can get into a lot more detail. But what these meetings have brought out is that we've had the opportunity to clarify information that is incorrect about MDX, how we finance our projects, who we are, what roads we control. So it's given us the opportunity to speak to many people and clarify the record. Many people don't realize that we don't control every single toll road in Miami-Dade County. We control about half of them. There's many people, and we've said this many times, that don't understand that we do not control Florida's turnpike, but more importantly, the managed lanes. They believe that we own the managed lanes, that we get the money from the managed lanes, and that we use it for whatever we want. It's given me the opportunity to describe that. In the course of those meetings, I have had meetings with the chair and with the previous chair, with Representative Avila, Representative Asensio, candidates that have been running, that are running and are in the slate. And it's ironic that the candidates want to support our program, but they also want to lower tolls. So just recently, we've had
It's called everybody wants to go to heaven, nobody wants to die. That's what it is.
But it's again,
Way to describe it.
but again, I take pride in that they give us the opportunity to make the case. With Representative Avila, I met with the town of Miami Lakes, and I had to give them the news that I had to put their project on hold because of the reduction of the toll rates and the holding pattern that we are right now, and trying to figure out how we're going to refinance those projects. They pledged support. The mayor has been great. He's been here multiple times. He asked me if there's anything else he can do. I said no, that he had invited the representative, and that was sufficient. And then I asked the representative that we would request his assistance in the spring to make this right. These are the unintended consequences that I don't think people realized that obviously we all want to fix. And then finally, you know, as it relates to the Kendall Parkway, there's this notion, and I've had to go on radio and I've had to discuss it with commissioners, with a commissioner in particular, but there's this notion that we're sitting on $100 million on an annual basis that is not necessary, that's part of our reserves, that we could divert and do public transportation. That somehow, if we don't do the Kendall Parkway, that there's $1 billion that can be bonded out, you know, to an exorbitant amount, I think 18 to 1. And I've had to explain, and I think many folks now understand, that the project generates revenue. Without the project, there is no traffic, there's no revenue. The other thing that I've had to explain, and it goes to, it's a testament to the board and how we have partnered with either the state or the county, is that there is a better approach for MDX to be a partner on infrastructure. And that approach is to program projects into the 5-year plan. Not try to do it as a, you know, getting it from the bottom from the surplus, or whatever the surplus is. The argument that I've made is if there is that much surplus, the rightful owner is the public, the person who pays that toll. It shouldn't be diverted. So the right thing to do is to populate the work program with projects that improve mobility. So with that, Mr. Chairman, I kept it as brief as I could.
Thank you, Executive Director, and I have to also echo what you said. I've been pretty busy myself, going on radio, trying to dispel a lot of bad information that's going on around this town. I'll take it upon myself, being the chair and also the mayor, because I do have a bully pulpit, to inform the people of Miami-Dade County what this organization does. We don't charge all the tolls. We're 48% of the tolls collected in this county is MDX. And when you say that to people, they're like surprised, oh, really? We haven't raised tolls. As a matter of fact, with this board, lowered tolls in July. But not like the Turnpike, who's going to raise tolls because they have a CPI adjustment coming. So they're going to raise the tolls. We're not. We have to be more cognizant of our image in the community and dispel bad information. Because there are people that will want to take advantage of the fact that we have been somewhat maybe silent, or well, they do what they do and just leave us alone. We can't do that because there's some bad information that's going around. One of them is we're sitting on $1 billion.
Yeah.
Somehow, we're sitting on $1 billion. And no matter how much we and I and the executive director prove to one individual, really, that there isn't $1 billion, that continues to be circulated. And we'll see that on Thursday at the commission meeting, where they'll say, we are somehow diverting $1 billion that could go to transit. That's absolutely 100% false. And we have a lot of bad information that we have to dispel on Thursday at that application. But, you know, you have my pledge that I will be going to any media source that will take me to talk about what we do and the importance of MDX. And really, you know, this project that I just saw today on the 836 and the Signature Bridge is an example of the things that we have to do in order to keep people moving here in Miami-Dade County. We're not focused just on cars, we're focused on mobility. And we've also taken the challenge of doing the east-west component of the SMART plan. That we've taken that on, and that we will actually do that and do that in a very, very efficient manner, and something that I think the people will be very proud of. And so it's frustrating, but we have to keep going back and correcting the record and putting the record that we have here, because this is really done a really good job. The 826, 836 interchange is magnificent. The work that's being done right now as we speak on the 836, I can see the improvements already, and I just can't wait till this whole thing is done so that we can have, you know, we'll have free-flowing traffic for a while until we get more congested, all right? And then we got to do some other things. So, you know, this is a moving target. It always will be. This is an option. And when people ask me, what do you support? I said, yes, everything. I support everything. I support, we should be supporting cars. We should be supporting more road projects. We should be supporting trains and buses and anything else that get us from here to there efficiently, quickly, and so we can spend less time on the road or whatever, and more time with being productive, or more importantly, even with our families. So those are also additional comments that I had from the chairman's comments. Any questions on the executive director's report? Yes, Member Martinez.
Yes, Mr. Mayor. I think it's also important to note that how are we doing with the park and ride insofar as that? Because it's another project, Mr. Mayor, that we are working in conjunction with the county and with DOT to expand traffic. And I think it's important to also constantly remind our clients and those of the public that that's another one of the projects that we are working with that is going to discuss exactly the mobility you were mentioning earlier on too, as well. So how is that? Where are we at?
The Dolphin Park and Ride is essentially completed. We're waiting for final approvals. We are working with the county, the city of the town or city of Doral, city of Sweetwater, and try to get their local circulators to be able to access the park and ride so that there's some local service while we complete the work on 836 and then start our express service on 836, where that would be one of the termini.
Thank you for that. Mr. Mayor, I'd also like to comment, it's remarkable what you're saying. I remember a reporter in one of the interviews they were conducting with me complain about the fact that they had paid, I think it was $10.50 on the express lane on I-95, and they had mentioned, you know, what are you doing with that money? And I explained, that's not our roadways. That is a DOT lane. It's an FDOT lane. It's not ours, and there's a large amount of confusion there. So I think it's absolutely paramount that we do exactly what you're saying, because there's an enormous amount of confusion out there with that information. And for years, we have been making that argument. Fortunately, because you are also the mayor, you have a larger bully pulpit than any of the rest of us had in the past, so hopefully it'll sink in. But like you said, I fully expect that there's going to be some outlandish allegations and comments made on Thursday that mathematically just don't make sense. If we had that kind of surplus, we'd reduce the tolls even more. Certainly, you have been advocating toll reductions since even before you got on the board. So when you got here, if you saw that kind of a surplus, the first thing you would have done is reduced it a heck of a lot more than 5%. There's no question about that, because that was your position. That's why it's asinine to think that we have that kind of a surplus. But no matter what you tell people, sometimes it is what they believe, what they want to believe. We just got to keep pounding it into other people's heads. And for that, I think it's important.
And I agree. And also, the Turnpike in the state of Florida have been very, very silent because we've been taking the brunt of all the criticism for them. We have some to share, but we'll take half of it. You got the other half. And so that's something that we need to do. And by the way, you're absolutely right. If we're sitting on $1 billion, and then we'd be reducing tolls. That's who paid it in. That's who deserves the break. So that's my position. If we're sitting on a bunch of surplus, then let's look at the way to give that money back to the people that paid it. And not do something else with it. All right, so any other comments? Okay, we move on. The General Counsel's report?
Yeah, I just want to report on one matter. It's an update on the ETC litigation. I spoke with Judge Toronto on Friday. They're still in the process of putting together the appellate brief. It's probably going to be due December 1st, and then they will have their chance to submit their brief, which is probably, they get 60 days originally, but they'll ask for an extension. And other than that, I have nothing else.
Any questions on that? Okay, moving on. TPO representative report?
The most recent meeting, the highlight was we addressed the locally preferred alternative. BRT was selected for the South Dade Busway. And this is important because it's the same type of service that we're going to be doing on 836 and extending it to the Kendall Parkway. So that was really a great move on the part of the TPO. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, madam.
And you know, to Board Member Fano's MPO, and I've had this conversation with Board Member Fano, a lot of the projects we put on hold, I have not taken it to the point of making amendments at the TPO. And the reason I have not taken it to that point is because we're hopefully going to be able to redo some of the financing and not have to take that position of moving out of the 5-year program and then bring it back in. So we're going to try to fix it, and whatever we can fix will stay in, and if we don't, then we'll take it to the TPO once to make those types of amendments. Thank you.
Any further comments? Item 7A, consent agenda. Oh, I'm sorry, treasurer's report. Oh, sorry.
That's all right. Good evening. How are you? The report is with you, and it's basically for the 2-month period of July and August. It's fairly straightforward, except for the issue relating to the centralized customer service system, the CCSS. Our treasury report shows that we are $2.3 million below forecast, but it has mainly to do with the issues that was going on in Tallahassee relating to the CCSS. They're finally starting to catch up, and is with the Sun Passes, if I'm correct, Marie, correct? And they're anticipating now that the toll by plates will be, the bills will be getting sent out in October, and there's an expectation that there will be an extension of period for people to pay those back because of the issues that they were having. So hopefully things will be back online more consistently coming now in October. One of the things we're going to have to discuss, Mr. Chair, is the issue of the rewards program. It came up during the treasurer's subcommittee that because of the fact that we were required to reduce the tolls pursuant to the demands made to us by the legislation, we're going to have to do away with the rewards program because we just don't have the money to do it. But we have over 89,000 people that have qualified that would have received a 22% refund, and those individuals spent significantly more than the amount of money that individuals who come here, our tourists, are going to get. We're going to have to inform them. We're going to have to let them know what has happened, and we need to do it at a relatively quickly. One of the things that was brought up during the treasurer's report, subcommittee, excuse me, was to mention it today and then discuss it in the October meeting. Marie indicated, and I don't know, Mr. Executive, how you feel, one of our great concerns is it may be too late by the end of the month meeting to get notice out. So we thought we'd bring it up and discuss it with the board members here today and how to let them know what's happened and why. Because if not, we're going to have a significant amount of thousands of people outraged, questioning us on what suddenly happened to the rewards program they expected to get back. Mr. Rodriguez, is that a fair assessment of, and Marie, is that a fair assessment of where we're at with having to give notice?
Yes. Well, because we had to reduce the tolls, actually, the reduction in the tolls was 3 times the amount of the rewards program, right?
Yes.
But it was spread out amongst all the users, and so the heavy users that really relied on this rebate, significant money, we can tell them, by the way, you got 5% back, but you didn't notice it, okay? So one of the things that I spoke to the executive director about was going to the legislature and fixing it, allowing us to do a 5% reduction, but actually give that 5% reduction to the people that need it the most. I don't think tourists need the 5% reduction. I don't think somebody that spends you know, $1 a day needs 5 cents back. I think somebody that's spending significant amount of money should be getting it back. And maybe, I'm not even talking about commercials, okay? I mean, we also give back to commercial enterprises, right?
Yes,
That's
we
part
do.
of the, okay, well, we need to think about that too, but if we up that to 3 times the amount, then some of those really, really heavy users can get some significant reduction in their tolls, or is there some other way that we can do it, maybe electronically? I don't know the answer to that, but I believe there should be a rebate to people that spend a certain amount, because that's starting to hit their pocketbooks, especially those that live out in the West and the working families, et cetera. Those are the people that really we should be targeting.
Of course.
Not somebody that spends, you know, $2 a day on our expressways and gets 10 cents back. I don't think that that's going to make a big deal to somebody. So 10 cents times 52, all right, so $5, okay? Over the life of the year or something like that. So that's really not I don't believe that that was the intent from this legislature, but again, because we didn't have communication, we with them and us, they didn't understand the impact that they were going to have to the people that really need this reduction. How we explain it, I don't know how we explain this one, but again, we're going to bear the brunt of it.
Well, but
You know, so we have to explain it very well, that, hey, we didn't want to do this. We actually want to up it and give you more of a rebate, but this is the only way that we could do it.
I think the need is going to be as transparent as possible, which is, we were under the requirement of a legislation that was passed. I mean, we don't have to point fingers or make any kind of allegations of who, what, when, and how, but the law was passed, and we were required to follow the law that was passed. It wasn't, and we were obligated to follow it. So somehow that needs to be expressed so that it doesn't seem like it's coming from us.
I also think that it's fair to state that we are going to work with the legislators, and I
Yes.
think they understand what the issue was, and they committed to work with us to try and fix it in the next session. So we can draft something up that is informative to the customer base, so that we can put on the website or email it to them. We can share it with the board, get your input, and try to get that out as soon as possible, because it's going to be an issue of expectations and a lot of people that are affected.
Board Member Meyer?
The Chair, I wholeheartedly agree, and it's a coming. Question, the legislators that specifically sponsored that piece of legislation, who were those legislators again?
We met with Representative Avila.
Okay, it was just Representative Avila?
Prior to that, it was Senator Flores, Representative Nunez, and Senator Garcia.
Gotcha. Well, I think the way they presented it was a very favorable opportunity to reduce tolls to the community. And so if that was their position, I think we should come out and thank them publicly for allowing MDX to reduce tolls 5%. I don't see why we don't thank those legislators if they're going to reduce tolls 5% across the board. Obviously, by doing that, we remove the cash back, but they get 5% reduction across the board. And so that would be my recommendation in terms of thanking those legislators.
Mr. Vice Chairman?
So a couple of comments. I don't think we thank them at the same time we request clarification and changes to the law. I think also saying that it's this for the common folk or for the individual, it's this politician told me to do that to that politician. So I would suggest that we go with the simple facts and say that the program was worth $5.5 million last year, or whatever that number was, and that this year's program is triple. It's worth $15 million. And you stick with those facts, don't generate any more blames going back and forth, because I think the citizens are tired of that. And they're just going to see that one entity of government is blaming the other entity of government or thanking the other entity. The facts stand by themselves, which is this year there will be $15 million in reductions of tolls to the community. End of story.
May I? But with all due respect, if
Member
you,
Martinez, go ahead.
thank you. If you are a small business that last year got a $200 or $300 refund because you got a 22% return for the $1,000 you spent for argument's sake, and you don't get any check back at all this year because you're getting a 5% raise over time, that explanation is not going to wash with the public. They're going to think that that is a shell game. They're going to want something a little clearer because 89,000 people we promoted to register for the program. We're not talking about those that didn't register. 89,000 members of this community registered for a program with an expectation that they would get a check sometime in December of a refund if they qualified. That is what was expected. Somehow, some way, we need to explain to those 89,000 people why their expectation of what they were going to receive is no longer available. I'm not looking to point fingers or mention names. I'm simply saying that there was a law passed that required us to do something that caused that X was caused Y. That's it. I don't want to say who proposed it, who didn't, because we lowered the tolls because of the fact that there was a law passed that basically said that if we didn't lower it, they could fire all of us. That was part of the reason why it was passed. We were in favor of reducing it anyway, but the reality is, if not, it's either going to be a shell game or we're going to take the heat. If it's okay for this board to say that we're going to take the heat, that's a different story. But the reality is, what you're proposing is not going to make sense to the 90,000 people that registered. It's not, because they're not going to get the check at the end of in December that they were expecting, because that's what the expectation is, because that's what we sold to them. We sold that to them when we did the rewards program. That's what we sold.
Treasurer Martinez, did I just hear you say that the reason why you cut the program was because there was a law that passed that if we didn't do it, we would all lose our jobs?
We were all going to, they had the ability in October to remove us from the board. That is why that is why we are challenging parts of the law. That's exactly part of the reason why it was done.
And do you think that that citizen that you're trying to protect is going to appreciate the fact that you took away the program because you're trying to save your job?
No, because I'm following a law that was passed that requires me to follow it. If a law is passed, I have to follow it unless it's challenged in court. I may not like a law, but I have to follow it. That's
Okay. I have a question to the General Counsel. Could we have maintained the rewards program with a 5% reduction?
I would defer to Ms. Schaefer. She would know more about the finances.
Well, I don't think we're saying that we're eliminating the program. I think that the discussion is centering around whether or not we have the ability financially to actually give back an additional cash back to the customers.
No, I'm not. That's not the question. Within the 5%, in order to comply with state law, could we have said, okay, the rebate program now will have $15 million in it instead of $5 million in it?
I think the law was written that it was, no. To answer your question, simply no. It was not written to gear towards our frequent program.
All right, so I agree with the vice chair that there is a certain amount of, that this board reduced the tolls 5%. We did. That we had to comply with state law, yeah, but this board reduced the tolls 5%. In order to comply with state law, then we can no longer have the rebate program because the reduction of 5% is actually 3 times the amount of the rebate program. I think that that's one thing we have to say, and some people may not like it, but we have to state the facts that in essence we're returning back. We're actually not collecting $15 million versus before we would give you back 5. So it is 3 times less. So the people of Miami-Dade County, the people that are using the system, they save $10 million from what we normally would have. The fact that some people don't see it, okay, because it's very small, and some of the people that were counting on a 22% reduction, which is the rebate program,
Right.
The heavy users are now going to get, less. Well, that's something we may want to rectify, in Tallahassee, maybe going back to it. But even that, I'm thinking, how do you do that? That means we now have to raise tolls again so that we then give it back to them. And I'm not sure I want to go there, okay, to be honest with you. So
I agree with that.
Right?
I wouldn't
I
go
don't
back to
think,
raise.
we raise tolls so we can give it back to you. I don't think that's going to play very well either. So I'm not sure I think we're stuck with what we got. And those folks that used to have this rebate program, sorry, this is what we have. Maybe what we do is, again, that's why I'm looking at something electronically, that once you reach a certain point, those heavy users, it'll equate to 5% reduction, but they will get a big break, the ones that are really using it. And again, like I said, I'm not so much commercial-wise, I don't know if I'm there. I'm looking to the personal driver, the people, the workers of this community. So I think it's a topic that we need to discuss at a future board meeting, and hopefully maybe the finance subcommittee can take a look at it, how we can structure this a different way so that the people that are really paying a lot, that it means a lot to their pocketbook, maybe get a little bit, not a little bit, but get significantly more in terms of reduction in their tolls than the rest of us that, use the expressway on occasion, and we don't have this big, bill every day, okay? So, yeah, Mr. Martinez.
Mr. Chair, obviously, this is a board, and if that is the feeling and the sentiment of the board, I think then we will comply with the suggestions. What I may suggest, if the others are in agreement, first, I think it should be an email to all of those that register. I don't think we should just put it on a newsletter and just say, oh, we publicly this. I think we should send a personal email explaining the situation.
You agree?
Okay. Number two, I also suggest that not only discussing the expansion and what has occurred, but that we are actually looking at other avenues of possibly giving greater support to those who are larger users of, and I'm not a word guy, so somebody could figure it out, but something to the effect of what you said, that we are looking at different ways to try to.
No.
Or what would you like, something to that effect, whatever you guys suggest we should say, just basically, this is what happened and why, and that's it?
That would give an expectation that something is
Fair
going to
enough.
happen, and so I'd rather not give an expectation that something is going to happen. I think we work on it, and if something does happen, we give them the good news that
Fair
something
enough.
happened.
Then we give them the straight poop and nothing.
Right.
other.
Well, I think there's also an adjunct. There's a thing about, everybody wants to go to heaven, nobody wants to die, but there's also this other thing that I have, is that the no good deed goes unpunished. And so you have to be very clear with the people, the residents, of what it is you're going to try to do something. Okay, we're looking at alternatives, but not promise anything about what
agree with
could
that.
happen, because I don't know if it can happen.
Right.
And I'd rather not. I think we don't need to make any promises that we can't keep. Any promise we make, we have to keep. Mr. Vice Chairman.
So, Treasurer, the other thing that you can add in that email is that the cost of administrating the program was hundreds of thousands of dollars, Marie, correct?
The microphone.
I think it was about 300, including the community outreach.
Right. So that's something that would probably go away by not having the program. So we're adding that into the pot. So we're trying to be a little bit more efficient.
Okay.
I will draft a communication. I will circulate it to the board members, get your feedback, and I think we're in good. Typically, when we send out communication to the community, it's towards the end of November, so I think we're okay in communicating with the users.
I'd like to get the opinion of our board, of all the board members on that.
No.
Somebody said something.
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. My line got cut off. It's Luz Weinberg calling back.
Okay. Anybody have any other comments? Everybody okay with? Okay.
Yeah, Mr. Chair, if I may, I cut off about a minute ago. I don't know what I missed. I just wanted to reiterate it because we did have these discussions at committee last week. And I wanted to make sure that that's where we ended up, that we are going to be having staff prepare something to draft out and send out to the program participants, stating that following the House bill of this year, this event occurred, and likely the program is suspended. Whatever the language is that what I missed? Is that what we're doing, so that then we can approve it for submission for the October meeting? That was the discussion last week at committee.
Yeah, the executive director will be drafting some language, and then it will be circulated to all the board members for your comments, so that we can put something out to those that were participating in the rebate program.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Sorry, I had missed that. Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other comments?
Lastly,
Yes.
so we're not sending out a message that we lowered toll rates by 5% across the board, so tourists won't know, oh, they will know.
Yeah, we will be sending out that message that we lowered the toll 5% across the board. It had a savings of, a reduction of $15 million
Correct.
to the users of the system. The rebate program used to only give back 5, so this is triple the savings to the users. And, you know, and it affects you, right? And we move on from there. And then the executive director will make that comment, okay? I mean, we'll write it up, and then we'll send it, and I think that those that are expecting a check, hey, your check is coming every day as you go through the system. You've got, we have reduced your tolls, all right? All right, moving on.
Okay.
Consent agenda.
Yes, and we'll keep your original comments in mind as we draft this up. Consent agenda, item A, travel ratification.
One thing, too, we're not promising anything.
Yeah?
No promise.
No promises, okay, thanks.
Travel ratification and approval, September 6, 2018, trip to Tallahassee by the executive director to attend the Florida Transportation Commission meeting and present the annual Transportation Authority Oversight Report. October 12th through 16th, 2018, trip to Baltimore by the MDX board members and the executive director to attend the IBTTA 86th Annual Meeting and Exhibition. November 1 through November 2nd, 2018, trip to Tampa by board member Meyer to attend the Team Florida Quarterly Meeting. November 15th through the 16th, 2018, trip to Gainesville, Florida by the executive director to attend and participate in the Henry Fuller Task Team. And lastly, November 27th through November 28th, trip to Tampa, Florida by the executive director to be a panelist at the 6th Annual Florida Automated Vehicle Summit.
Okay, do I have a motion? Okay, been moved and seconded. Any discussion on the consent agenda? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It passes. Item 8A.
Okay, moving to the regular agenda, item A, approval of supplemental agreement number 2 for MDX procurement contract number RFQ 15-02, CEI services for 83628, $2,672,753.10. It will be Mr. Toledo.
Good afternoon, board members. Supplemental number 2 is increasing the funds for the contract with New Millennium Engineering, who's the construction engineering inspection firm on the 83628 project, overseeing the contractors on that project. This supplemental agreement covers owner requested changes to the design-build contract, primarily the buses on the shoulder, and it also accounts for weather delays on the project to date. These funds would take us to the end of construction. Any questions?
Vice Chairman?
For how long has this contract been active?
This contract started in April of 2015.
So is it normal procedure to have all the delays come at the end of the contract? I mean, it seems like we are, since 2015, if I was the supplier, if I was the vendor, I would have requested my weather days in 2016, 2017, 2018, and not all of them at the end of the contract.
So with this contract, with the design-build contract, the weather days are granted as the inclement weather happens. So though that contract is being increased in time through that life. On the CEI contract, since it's a limiting amount contract and we basically bill as you go, we try to manage that contract through the life, and then we try to see if we can manage that contract with the original funds until we get to a point where we know we're going to be exhausting those funds, and then we come in at that time to be able to cover the remainder of the construction period. We're at the point where we still have monies available, but we want to make sure that we have the funds available on the contract for the rest of the job.
That the vendor is not requesting on a yearly basis the weather delay funds.
Again, the weather delays applies to the design-build firm. This is the
Right.
contract that oversees that contract.
So-
So their time is tied to the construction contract. So as we
Not my
increase.
question, Mr. Toledo. Is the vendor requesting on a yearly basis their weather delay funds?
Construction, yes.
On the construction
Professional
side,
services, no.
yes, we're
On the
applicable.
design side?
On the
CN
design-build side.
On the construction, engineering, and inspection, are they requesting them on a yearly basis?
No, they don't.
They're not requesting. The
They're not,
vendor is,
they're not because their contract time is tied to the design-build contract. The way that we structure the engineering inspection contracts, that time runs with the construction project. So as we extend the design-build contract, their contract automatically gets extended. This essay is to cover the work that now is going to take place for that additional time.
or the delay.
For the request, for the additional time that we've added due to the changes that we've requested on the job.
Okay, so this extension is for 251 days, of
Correct.
which 95 are due to us. Those
Correct.
are for work order changes. But if you look at the impact that this has, is extremely significant. I mean, this contract was originally awarded for $12 million, more or less.
Correct.
And it's going up by 22%. And it's going up at the very end of the award period. It seems like the impression that I got was that we were trying to figure out a way of extending this and you know, some of these things, it profoundly surprises me that as a vendor, that if I have 151 days of weather-related delays, that I'm going to wait till the end of the contract to make that claim to you.
Well, again, based on the way that these contracts are structured and it's and it's bill as you go, we get to they don't ask for that upfront or at that time because they still have money available, and we try to manage that fund within the contract time, and we try to see how far we can stretch it before we come to the committee for more monies.
Mr. Toledo, it would seem to me that in 2016, on February 13th, assuming that that's a valid day, that there was a weather delay. How do you verify that 3 years later?
On how much they've billed through the contract.
So they do claim that every year in the contract. They're not coming to you now and saying, here's 151 days, correct?
Track it. I mean, we obviously track
Great.
the expenditures and where we're going to be, and we.
So let me ask you, instead of waiting till the funds expire or very close to expiring to put this 22% increase, why don't we do that on a yearly basis?
We could take that approach. We just don't want to, we try not to have too many change orders on we try to limit the amount of change orders, so we try to be efficient in that way, but we can always take that approach and look at each contract on a yearly basis and make those adjustments accordingly. I mean, it's really a perception issue at that point, how you want to look at it.
It's a very significant increase in the amount. I mean, it's $10,000 a day that we are to pay for weather delays in this contract. So I would encourage you to put this on an annual budget, because if we really have a bad period, we could be looking at non-budgeted items that become very significant and that, you know, hurt the ability for finance to manage the projects appropriately. So I would encourage you to, at the end of the year, put in the losses that we've had or the increases that we've had. But this doesn't seem like sound policy to wait 4 years to increase a contract by 22%. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other questions? I have a question. Maybe you need to educate me. Construction, engineering, and inspection. Where is that happening, the work?
This is for the work that's happening on 836 between
No,
17.
but where is that work happening? The construction, engineering, and inspection, where is that work happening?
It's happening on the field. It's the
happening in the
inspectors
field?
that oversee the physical work that's going on. So it's a combination of roadway inspectors, bridge inspectors, electrical, all the different disciplines overseeing all the tasks that are going on at any given time.
Except nothing's happening.
No, the work is actually.
No, it can't be, because you're asking for a weather delay. You're not happy, nothing's happening. So if nothing is happening, what are they inspecting and doing and all that?
But the work is going, but the time is going on at that time, and they're billing for certain things throughout the period.
Like what?
Which is again, well, there's still several components that go on throughout the day, as was explained earlier. to grant a weather day, you have to have more than half a day of work that can't happen.
Okay.
But if you have that, if you have, let's say, 3/4 of a day, if you're,
If you have 3/4 of a day, then it's not a weather delay. You have to have,
but
more than
there's a
half.
period of time
So
that
for half
before
the
you make that
day,
determination.
I'm sorry, but for half the day, nothing's happening, because if not, you don't have a weather delay. You're doing something. So if you are not doing anything, so what are these people doing when the other people aren't doing anything?
there's clerical work that goes on throughout that time.
But if that's work that's going on, then why are they tacking it on to a weather delay?
Well-
Because if it's work that they continue to work, because they can continue to work while nothing else is going on, then it's less work than they have to do when something is going on. So tell me why you do this weather delay for the folks that are looking at the people that are working. These are the people that are looking at the people that are working, right?
Okay, so
Okay.
the,
What do these people do? You got to educate me, okay? So, like, I'm a firefighter, I'm not an engineer, okay? So, tell me what these people do when people are working. We have design build, they're out there, they're doing their, they're doing their thing, and then these people are the ones that are looking at them doing their thing.
well, they're making sure that they're doing the work correctly.
Right, but
So
since they're not working, since the people are claiming that they're not working because of a weather delay,
on those
so what
we-
is it that they're doing?
Okay, so on those days where a weather delay is granted, you do have clerical work that goes on to log, document, and for the books and for the records, why we shut down the project that day, what the amount of work that may have happened or not. All that gets tracked on daily logs so that we can document all that progress or non-progress on a daily basis.
So we
There
pay
is-
people to
so that-
document the
work
non-progress.
The work
Okay.
associated with that level of work does get billed on the project at a smaller level because inspectors go home, other people don't work, but you do have a certain clerical amount, and that's why we track that budget on how much is getting billed per day, and we try to stretch the original contract amount through this time, and we only come back to the board when it's needed, when we're running out of funds.
Did I just hear you say that when they're not working, the work that they do is to log the work that they're not doing?
Well,
You just said, because that's what I must have
well,
misunderstood you.
They're logging the reason for why there's no work. Yeah, we're logging, we're documenting.
But sir, that doesn't
daily
take a
events.
whole day. That doesn't take a whole day. Mr. Toledo, I think you
You're
need
right,
to
it doesn't take, but
get better answers for this. I mean, this jumps out at us as first of all, probably a bad planning in terms of finances, just bad planning, that this all comes up at once. It increases severely the contract's amount because this was won on a low bid, and now a portion of it is our responsibility because of the work changes, but a significant amount is weather-related. And I wonder, if I was going to inspect this on Monday and nothing happened on Monday, and it gets inspected on Tuesday because nothing happened on Monday and I couldn't work, it seems a little awkward, to say the least, that this, and it's not, this isn't a very small amount of money. This is a significant amount of money that increases on a material basis the contract itself. And maybe it's for us to review the policies that we have. How many days do we have granted on a normal contract for weather-related downtime? On a normal contract, how many days are there?
I think it varies from contract to contract, but typically you look at, it's hard to say, it's hard to give you an answer on an average.
That was an unfair question. Could we do something? Could we get a report from you that analyzes this contract?
Yes.
Looks at the days that are default days in the contract and gives us a picture of how many days in these last 4 years this firm and your department agree that they were unable to work?
Yes, we can do that.
Yeah, I think, but also comparing it to other firms that may not be able to work. So I think we need to see the whole thing. Other firms that are out and about, same contract period, and how many days that they claim they weren't able to work. Because they're out, as far as I know, they're still out there in Miami somewhere running around and working. So what concerns me is that if I were a contractor, and I guess if I was working for this engineering firm, I would love rain. Because, I mean, I'm just going to get an extension, and then you're going to pay me, you're going to pay me $10,000 a day to document the fact that nobody's working. I mean, there's something wrong with that. There's something wrong with that somehow. And so, you know, I can see you can document, and then you're not working, so what are you doing? And I hate to be paying our dollars for work that's not being done. I understand from a contractor's point of view, there's, you know, you have to pay salaries and all that even when the work is not being done and all that, but I'm not so sure about the people that are overseeing the contractor when they're not working, that we have to pay them because they're going to tag along right along with the contractor. I'm not sure about that. Plus, I also want to know if we, it's a good report I want to see. Same time period, who claimed how much in weather delays, and they better be really close. And if they're not close, then somebody has some explaining to do. Why there's such a big difference in, well, in this, from January 2015 to January 2017, we claim 250 weather delay days, and somebody else claims 150 weather delay days. That I want to see. Okay, do you guys look at that?
Yeah, we do.
Okay, just produce it. What is the pleasure of the board on this item? Anybody have any
Mayor, I move that we
discussion? Yes, yes.
Just one last request, Mr.
Lamar?
Chair. You both covered all the items that I had written here. So the question I have is included in that report. You have here the small and local business participation. I would just like to see a report of their adherence to that, because it says that they will continue to comply, but it doesn't actually highlight where their compliance is at today. So if we could just have that included in the report. Thank you.
Okay. What's the pleasure of the board?
Well, based on the suggestions that have been brought by both the chair and the vice chair, I would move to defer the matter to the next board meeting.
I have a motion to defer.
Second.
I have a second. Is there any discussion on deferral? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Item's been deferred to the next meeting until we have those questions answered. Item B.
Item B, approval of supplemental agreement number 3 for MDX procurement contract number RFP 15-02, design build services for $874.10, $3,402,355.33. Mr. Toledo?
Board members, this is a supplemental agreement for the design build services on the 874 ramp connection to Southwest 28th Street for $3.4 million. This is due to owner requested changes for improvements underneath the Killian Parkway interchange to basically open up a pinch point that exists there today. And the idea is to have this improvement done with the construction of this project.
Something we requested. All this is requested by us.
This is something that we requested for the design build team.
Okay. Do I have a motion?
Move.
I
Second.
have a second. Second, open for discussion. Wish to discuss this item? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item passes. Item C.
Approval of supplemental agreement number 7 for MDX procurement contract RFP 11-02, designing engineering services for $836.29, $676,236.63. Mr. Toledo?
This supplemental agreement is for the contract with the engineer of record, APCTE Engineering. This is to address the amount of RFIs, requests for information that we've experienced on this project through the life of the project, as well as redesigning due to owner requested changes, primarily for the issues on the buses on the shoulders, and extending a westbound lane on 836 to 107th Avenue. So redesigning redesigning these areas, owner requested changes, and this is a supplemental agreement for post-design services to cover all these services.
Okay, do I have a motion? Been moved and second. Any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Item's approved. Next item.
Item D, approval for offer of judgment and delegation of settlement authority to the Executive Director, MDX Work Program 83611, $47,100. Mr. Toledo?
Board Board members, this is for a parcel with the 836 I-95 interchange that we entered into condemnation in 2017. We're now in the compensation phase of this litigation, and this is to present an offer of judgment in the amount of $325,000 for settlement, and it really the authority is to extend the executive director's authority by $47,000. Which is right now the 325 exceeds his authority, his threshold.
Mr. Executive Director, you have anything to say?
No, actually, on this item, aside from this item, we are going to be bringing to the Operations Committee revisions to our right-of-way policies. Now that we've got a major right-of-way program that will hopefully get underway, we're looking at ways that we can be more efficient in delivering the programs.
Okay, very good. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Moved and seconded. Do I have any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item's approved. Next item.
Okay, item E, approval of interlocal construction and maintenance agreement between MDX and Miami-Dade County for MDX work program number 83629, reconstruction of 82nd Avenue, estimated at $3,160,000. Mr. Toledo?
This interlocal agreement is with Miami-Dade County for the construction of Northwest 82nd Avenue underneath the 836. This interlocal agreement basically lays out the parameters of MDX being able to construct the job, run it. We're also going to be funding it, and then upon completion, we would turn it over to the county for maintenance.
Okay. Do I have a motion? Moved. Do I have a second?
Second.
It's been moved and second. Any discussion on the item? Seeing none, all in favor say aye. Next item, please.
Item F, approval of interlocal construction and maintenance agreement between MDX and Miami-Dade County for MDX work program number 83629, reconstruction of 7th Street, estimated $2,828,000. Mr. Toledo?
Board members, like the previous item, this is an interlocal agreement with Miami-Dade County for the reconstruction or the construction of Northwest 7th Avenue underneath the Palmetto Expressway.
Street.
I'm sorry, Northwest 7th Street underneath the Palmetto Expressway. This is to provide connectivity between 76th Avenue and 79th Avenue. In this interlocal agreement, similar to the previous, MDX will construct the road. They will manage all the construction on the oversight, and then upon completion, turn it over to the county. The only difference here is that the county will be funding this portion of the construction.
So this goes under the expressway?
Yes,
It connects one side of, what, 826 to the other?
correct. That's
On 7th Street?
yes.
Okay. All right. Do I have a motion?
Moved.
Been moved and seconded. Do I have any discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item's approved. Next item.
Item G, approval of project resolution number 18-03 in support of MDX work program 92404. Mr. Toledo?
Board members, this is a project resolution, project right-of-way resolution for the 92404 or 924 extension west to the Homestead extension of the Florida Turnpike. This resolution will allow us to begin the right-of-way process in connection with this project. The reason we're bringing this item right now, even though this project has been delayed due to the toll reduction, is because we still need to move forward with some right-of-way purchases in coordination with the Florida Turnpike and their improvements for the managed lanes along that area, and for them to be able to provide envelopes for us to tie into in the future.
Okay. Do I have a motion? Moved. Moved and seconded. Do we have any discussion?
Board members, just so you know, each individual parcel will still come back to the Operations Committee. This is just a resolution authorizing the project.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Item's approved. Next item.
Item H, approval to transfer 3 parcels to Miami-Dade County for the West District Waste Water Treatment Plant. Mr. Toledo?
Board members, MDX currently owns some slivers of right-of-way on Northwest 6th Street, right off of Northwest 37th Avenue. These lands are going to be donated to the county, Transportation Public Works. And this is to provide access improvements to the west wastewater district that's being planned out west. So we're donating this land so that that road can be constructed.
Okay. Do you have a motion? Motion moved in second. Any comments? I have one comment. Does this in any way affect our ability if we can move forward with the 836 extension?
It does not at all. By transferring this project, we will be connecting to Northwest 6th Street in the future. If we come in first, then we would do something with the county to go ahead and advance that construction for them. If they're there before us, then we just tie in. But it doesn't prevent us from moving forward with our projects.
Okay, very good. Okay. Okay. Any other discussion? I have a question. Yes, Board Member Fano.
How much the donation, what the value is?
The value of all three parcels together is about $57,000. Hold on, let me just check the item. 104, I'm sorry, I was probably looking at the number of one. Altogether, I'm sorry, my bad. Altogether, it's $142,000.
Just another point of reference that we're good partners.
Yes, you are.
Thank you, sir.
I apologize.
We are, we.
We are good partners to ourselves, yes. Okay. Any other comments? No, seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Very good. Next item.
Staying on that theme.
Last item. Item I, approval of interlocal mitigation measures and other policy requirements agreement between MDX and Miami-Dade County for MDX work program number 83618, MDX State Road 836 Southwest Extension Project. Mr. Rodriguez?
Yes, board members, what's in front of you is an interlocal agreement in substantial form. This basically memorializes commitments that we've made in the project development process for the Kendall Parkway. It also memorializes all the elements that are in the application. And the reason we put together an interlocal agreement is the county is the applicant, the authority is the owner or contractor. You can enforce regulatory elements through permitting, but there's a lot of commitments that were made, not only in the application, but through the PD&E process that need to be enforceable. So if you look at your agenda item report as far as a summary, some of those elements are, for instance, elevating construction in the Pensuco wetlands. This is a very sensitive wetland area. We've made a commitment to be elevated to minimize the footprint. Avoidance and minimization of agricultural impacts. Submitting Class 2 and Class 4 permits with DERM. Acquisition of right-of-ways, of lands for mitigation on site, and then what we're going to do with that land and how we're going to restore it, and then how we're going to give it back to the county. Traffic analyses for future concurrency management. Express bus service. How we are going to provide a master plan to the county so they can see that, you know, what we promised is what we're actually doing. So it is a comprehensive interlocal agreement. It'll be a rider with the amendment itself, and there is enforceability here beyond just the permits, the permit regulatory components. The reason I say substantial form is because right before we walked in the meeting, there's a couple of areas where it discusses mitigation, but it's been requested that we expand the definitions of the Everglades restoration area. So we're going to be more specific to where the acquisitions would be for Everglades restoration so that we can recognize what their current and future plans are. With those minor, and there's no substance as far as financial, I ask for an approval in substantial form.
Okay, we'll have a motion. It's been moved. Do we have a second? Moved in second. Discussion on the item? I have some comments, and the comments are that this MOU is really what outlines all the protections that we are giving to Miami-Dade County on the extension of the 836, and also the protections that we're going to have on the sensitive areas, the amount of property that we're going to be not only purchasing, but eventually turning over to Miami-Dade County to be kept in perpetuity. The fact, I don't know if this says it, but the fact is that we're not moving the UDB, and the UDB is not being moved, that you cannot use this. Our own policy will say you can't be used, the 836 extension cannot be used for concurrency or capacity building. But this document also has all the protections that are needed in those areas. We will be probably enhancing the SERP project in the area, because we're going to be purchasing some land needed for SERP, and then exchanging it with the federal government for some land that they used to have for SERP, but they're not going to use it. Because the original plan that they had for the Bird Basin, they, once they did their geological work, they found that if they actually flooded the Bird Basin, they would actually be flooding the surrounding homes and areas, and so they had to move away from that. The SERP project now is a canal that runs parallel to Chrome. This, our 836 extension is far east of that, and so for those reasons, it does actually enhance the SERP project, and it also eases pressure on the UDB, because we'll be purchasing 1,000 acres of, at least 1,000 acres of land, and then giving that over to Miami-Dade County, so that they can, and by the way, we have to do the improvements to it so it goes back to a natural state, and that it must remain as a natural state in perpetuity. The protections of that are three or fourfold. Number one, it'll be part of the permit process for the state of Florida. It'll be part of the permit process for the federal government. It'll be part of the permit process of Miami-Dade County. If in the future some Miami-Dade County Commission decides that, hey, that's our property, we'd like to develop it, and actually I want a reverter clause so that it goes back to MDX, so the Miami-Dade County Commission cannot do that. So if this road is not built, those protections won't be there. In fact, you can, there will be pressure on the UDB, and one day this 1,000 acres could be developed. So for those reasons, we have taken into consideration just about every single objection that there was, and we put this on in black and white, so that anybody can read exactly what this extension is going to do, which is not to increase pressure, it's actually relieve pressure, but it is to relieve the pressure that's on the people that live there, the 600,000, 700,000 people there that deserve a good quality of life. And so I would hope that we would approve this MOU, and then we will see what happens with this on Thursday. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? One opposed. Item passes. Next item.
Chairman, as customary, there are a number of reports in your packet for information. The discussion item, we actually covered it as part of the treasurer's report.
Correct.
So we don't have to cover that discussion. The informational items, there's a procurement report, and I will work with our procurement staff so that we can answer the questions that were asked on the specific CEI. We track every single one of the expenditures for small and local business. In fact, I would like to, because we have a new board, in essence, I would like to invite the staff to make a presentation to the board on our results for small and local business. We didn't have an outreach program this year. Hopefully, we'll have one next year, but I'd like you to be able to present results, not aspirations. Okay? Other than that, we have a board meeting scheduled for the day before Halloween, October 30th at 4 p.m.
Absolutely. I'm going to be in my, I'll be in the same costume I'm always in.
Look forward to that meeting. Yes.
In the past, we were given a communications report. It disappeared. Just curious what happened to it.
It's my oversight. I didn't include it. I will make sure you get it.
Thank
We
you.
have it prepared.
Thank you.
So is that's the end of the meeting?
Move to adjourn.
End of the agenda. A motion to adjourn is always entertained.
Move to adjourn.
Move to adjourn. Okay, second. All in favor, say aye. We are adjourned. Thank you.